So yesterday, as we winded up, we saw how Guru Amar had this construction of the water tank with 84 steps. And what was the significance of this water tank? Spiritual purification, and also what did it signify? Kind of the cycle of birth, rebirth, right? Yes. And then we also had the division of the Sikh community into 22 manjis. Now what are manjis? Regions. And why was this done? Order, also governance we can say, and also to make sure the teachings reached to the people. Now, as we move forward, we see that he also appointed women preachers. Now, if you look at that time, okay, so we are looking somewhere at 1552 to 74. It is said that this was quite a progressive move at that time, because as we all know, the status of women in those days was still very low. So appointment of women preachers is seen as a very progressive move. And it is said that Guru Amar Das appointed women preachers in the Sikh community. Now, what was the main reasons, do you think, now based on all what we have already learned so far about Sikhism, about the values that it cherishes or values, why do you think appointment of women preachers was important, or what was the main reason? Okay, humble, serviceable, but something which should... All are one, okay? Equality, very good, right? Okay, yes, so equality in that sense, and that was one of the main reason. Okay, so this decision reflected the idea that all are equal, that there is equality between men and women, and at the same time there was also the move for empowerment of women, and therefore these were said to be the core principles. Okay, equality, as we have seen, humility, service, these are the core principles which were reflected in this decision to appoint women preachers. Now we see that when this is done, what do you think would have been the reaction? Was it common to have women preachers at that time? So what was the message that was being sent? Now let's analyze this. You already have had a shift from the traditional language that was used for scripts or for scriptures. What was that? Sanskrit. Okay, from that you have already come to a more local vernacular language, right? Now you have another move where you have women preachers also in addition to male or men preachers. So what do you think these two moves are significant for? Or what message is it trying to give across? Okay, so let's note down what you all are saying. So, okay, some are saying equality. Yes, that could be one. Anything else? Acceptance, okay. Okay, think a little bit more. Two instances are there. What message is it giving across? And to whom is it giving across the message? In a way, it is challenging the existing norms. Okay? So we see that it was a challenge to the existing norms, to the existing system that was there at that time. And it basically reinforced the authority, it reinforced the idea that spiritual authority and leadership are not restricted to men alone. Okay, so this was a very common or a very strong message that was being sent across. First was, it was challenging the norms that were already there during that time. The patriarchal society, as we see, which was very strong. Okay, and then you have a message being sent that, okay, spiritual authority and leadership is not restricted to men alone, but also women are equally capable of leading, they are equally capable of guiding people spiritually. And we see that these women also played a very important role in spreading Sikh teaching. Okay, so they played a role in spreading the teachings, particularly among other women. And as a result of this, we see that caste and gender barriers are broken. And therefore, this leadership also helped to promote the values of equality and inclusivity, the getting people together within the Sikh community. So as you can already see, this religion, by its ideals, by its values and by what it has been doing, is bit way ahead of its time. Okay, so they are quite way ahead of their time. Now there is something called as the policy of Pehle Pangat Piche Sangat. Any idea what does this? Okay, good. First something, afterwards. So Pehle is first, as you all know. Piche is behind or after, right? Okay. So now we see that Guru Amar Das, he started this policy of first the meal, okay, then the meeting. Okay, now Sangat can refer to meaning, to meeting, it can also refer to congregation, or it can also refer to a religious discourse or worship or gathering. Okay, so these are the various implications of the word Sangat. Now let's see, what do you think this policy would mean actually? Okay, Pehle Pangat Piche Sangat, or first the meal, then the meeting, or then the gathering, then the religious discourse. What do you think, what does it mean? Okay, so see, what happens is, now when a person is hungry, person has not eaten for many days, do you think that the person will be able to have the strength in order to, pray, worship, or in order to meet or gather? No. For example, we know that when we have this obligatory fasting, right? Is there something like that? Okay. When? Okay. Lent you have. Okay. So at least Ash Wednesday and Good Friday is supposed to be mandatory fasting. So during those days, okay, what is the whole mood? What is the whole mood that you have within you? In a sense, you feel drained out, or even if you have not done anything, there is no mood to do something else. Why? Because in your mind, oh, I'm fasting today, there is no energy and all. So we see that when this is not there, there is no kind of motivation. So here we see that this policy, first and foremost, emphasized equality and humility in the Sikh practice. So before gathering for any religious discourse or worship, regardless of your social status, regardless of which background you come from, it was required that you sit together and have a common meal. Okay, that is how you have this whole value of equality and humility coming in. That means even if you are there and there is somebody of some other background or somebody who you don't like is there, you sit together, you have food with that particular person, and then only you go ahead to worship. Is there something similar to this in Christianity also? Let's go only to the New Testament now. In one of the teachings of Jesus, do you think there is something similar to this? Something very close to this. There is something called as, before you leave your offerings, go make peace with your brother, reconcile and then come back, right? So in a way, this we can say is something quite similar to that, if you want to understand. That means, if you are not, it's only first you have meals together, you kind of, and when you are together, we see that many times you are able to interact or even sort out some differences. So in this way, the very fact that you are sitting with somebody you don't like, it takes courage. So this is what it meant. So then we see that this also reinforced the idea that all humans or all people are equal before God. And what do you think this challenge? This was a challenge for what? Challenge the caste system that was very much prevalent during that time. So the caste-based system, the social hierarchy that was there in the Indian society, this was a direct challenge to that. So by ensuring that everyone, whether it was the guru, whether it was the leader, whether it was the common person, by making sure that all ate the same food, this was a very powerful statement given about equality. Now, who is Emperor Akbar? Okay, Emperor, yes. But what more do we know about him? Okay, which dynasty did he belong to? Any idea? Mughal dynasty, very good. And what was he known for? Okay, that is one thing. But we see that he in a way had kind of a openness to other religions as well. So now we see that this whole policy of equality which Guru Amar Das had, okay, this in a way attracted or it grabbed the attention of Emperor Akbar. Okay, and now we see that he was known for his religious tolerance, and he also had interest, as we have seen, in different religions. So now it is said that he visited Guru Amar Das and shared a common meal with Guru Amar Das in the community kitchen, which is called the Guru Ka Langar. Now we see that his willingness, to sit and eat with the people in the community kitchen, with people of all castes, people of all backgrounds, people of all standings, was in a way in accordance to the Sikh teachings, or in accordance to what Guru Amar Das had preached or had teached about the Sikh way of life. And we see that this interaction that he had with Emperor Akbar, or the very act of Emperor Akbar coming, sitting with people of all backgrounds, of all castes, was seen as an example of the Guru's influence and respect that he commanded from higher authorities. Okay, so it is not only within the Sikh community that he was highly respected, but also among others. And therefore you see that in this time where equality was not very common, where people were discriminated, these things were gaining attention, it was gaining recognition from the others as well. Now as we see, Guru Kalangar is the community kitchen, that is, all come together and have a common meal. And as we have already seen that this emphasized equality among all, and this is said to be one of the most important establishment, one of the most important policies of Guru Amar Das. Now it is said that free meals were served to all, regardless of religion, class, caste, gender, and social status. Now there are two values which this Guru Kalangar emphasizes. One we have already seen is equality. What do you think another value that is emphasized? Okay, humility is there. Okay, good. And service. Or we can say selfless service. Because you see people volunteering, coming and cooking for a large number of people. Now, the Langar was not only about providing food. Okay, that was one of the objectives that was done. But we see that it was also a means to break down social barriers. Also, it was meant to foster a sense of community. So as we have already seen, by eating together, people are reminded that all are equal before the eyes of God. There is no superior, no inferior based on any class or based on any birth distinction. Now, when we also go for our trip, the field trip that we scheduled in the month of October, that time we will also be visiting the Langar. So, we will also see all these things in real life. Now, what do you think could be the legacy of Amar Das? Or what do you think would he be remembered for? Okay, equality and humanity, good. Any other thing? He is the one who we can say has started many new things, right? So, for example, you had the custom of first eating a common meal, then worshipping, then also the construction of the tank or the well, which had 84 steps. And therefore, we see that all his efforts were meant to promote community spirit, social equality, and also a spiritual growth among his followers. Now, it is said that the appointment of women preachers, then the division into the communities or the 12 regions, and the establishment of this Langar tradition had a very lasting impact on Sikhism. Now, we also see that he also was known for his forward thinking approach, because most of these things, okay, like for example, appointing women preachers was way ahead of the time. Okay, now for us we may think it is okay, common, but in those days when we go back to 1552, it was very uncommon. So he was quite ahead of his time, and in a way he also helped to consolidate, helped to solidify or stabilize the Sikh faith, and we see that he was dedicated to the principles of justice, compassion, and spiritual unity. Okay, apart from equality, humility, compassion, and also service. Okay, so the next Guru that we will look into had a very short span, just 10 years. So Guru Ramdas from 1574 to 1584. Now he is the fourth Guru, and he is actually known for both contribution to spiritual life as well as social aspects of faith. He is also said to be a social reformer in his own sense. And we see that within the period of 10 years, he was able to achieve quite a lot of things. Now, when we speak about the early life, we see that he was born as Bhai Jetha in 1534 in Lahore, and he was a follower of Guru Amar Das. And it is said that he also married the daughter of Guru Amar Das, okay, whose name was Bibi Bunny. Okay, not our Bibi, Bibi Bunny. Now, this basically made him the son-in-law. Okay, and in a way, because of this connection, he had quite a significant influence over the Sikh community. Now, he was very much dedicated, so he was known for his dedication to the teachings of Guru Amar Das, and in a way, he was chosen as the fourth Guru in 1574. Now, it is said that one of his most important contributions is the foundation of the city of Amritsar, which then becomes the spiritual and cultural center of Sikhism. Now, it is said that Guru Amar Das, who was the third Guru, he already had this vision of there should be a kind of a spiritual and cultural center for the Sikhs. And it was Guru Ram Das who brought this vision or this idea into reality. So it is said that he purchased a land and laid the foundation, which was called as Ramdaspur. Okay, initially it was called as Ramdaspur, named after him. Over the period of time, it got the name Amritsar, meaning pool of nectar. And it was named after a sacred pool, that is Amrit Sarovar, which surrounds the golden temple or the Har Mandir Sahib. Okay, so this is how Amritsar as a spiritual and cultural center came into existence, and therefore this becomes now a hub for religious, spiritual as well as cultural and political activities. And even today, this is one of the important pilgrimage sites for the Sikhs. And therefore, this as a foundation of the city of Amritsar was a very important symbol that showed the growth of the Sikh community and also the consolidation or the stabilization of the Sikh community. Now, during those days, what were the social evils that were there in the Indian society? Can you all think? In those days, okay, now we are still in 74, somewhere in the late 16th century, what were the social evils in Indian society? Caste was one, yes. Apart from that, which one? Okay, black magic, okay. Anything else? Yes. What is it called? Sati was there, yes. And then what was the condition of widows during those days? Yeah, they were being burned, okay. And we see that even those who did not want to commit sati, or those who did not want to take part in sati, their whole life would be quite miserable. Okay, they would be treated very miserably. So all are aware, right? What is the social practice of sati? Anybody can enlighten? Husband, yes. Yeah, so you have the funeral pyre, right? Where the wooden logs are kept. The wife had to go and jump into the burning pyre and had to sacrifice her life. So she was actually burnt alive. Okay, in those things. So this was in a way a very social evil that was there during that time. There is a reason, we'll come back to that later. But see, one of the things was, yes, Sean? Go ahead. How many history students in the class? Yeah, they had no option. They were forced. And even if they did not go, their life would be miserable. So in a way, it would be better for them to, yeah. Then Sujay, want to say something? See, one of the ways of looking at it was the status of the women was completely, in a way, dependent on the male. So once the male is not there, it was like, okay, you have no worth kind of a thing, and therefore they had to. It came later on. So we'll see that over here also. Okay, so widow remarriages comes a lot later, and though it is credited to the British, but we see that it was also very much prevalent in the Sikh community. So let's see some of the social reforms. But then also there were, along with them, the whole things were put. Now whatever they would require for the afterlife, in a way. So that was the Egyptian understanding. Okay, so let's move to the social reforms that were started by Guru Ramdas. So first and foremost, we see that he was very much for the improving the status of women in society. Okay, and two important practices that he sought to reform was, one was, you can say, abolition of sati and widow remarriage. Now, as we have already seen, sati was a very ancient practice where the wife would have to, throw herself in the funeral pyre of the husband. And whether some of the times we see that there are instances where even though she was not willing to, she was forcibly put into that and not allowed to come out. So it was very extreme, it was very cruel at that time. Now we see that this was very much prevalent at every stage of the Indian society, and one of the main reasons for this was so that the widow showed her loyalty to her husband. No. It was only women have to sacrifice themselves for the men. The men could do other things also. There was no, for men there was no, this did not apply for men. It was only for the women. Okay. So in a way we see that it was to demonstrate her loyalty to her husband, because in a way we see that the woman was seen as somebody who is there for the husband. Okay, and therefore to demonstrate her loyalty she had to put herself into this fire being or the burning of the body. Now we see that Guru Ramdas strongly opposed this, and he condemned this inhumane and very cruel policy, and he said that this was against the principles of equality and dignity of all individuals, which basically goes to show that the women did not have any dignity, did not have any self-respect during those days. Okay, the very fact that you have no self-respect, that you are forced to do something against your will. Okay, so this was something that he was very much against, and therefore he said that woman's life is valuable. Okay, and she should not be forced to sacrifice herself, or she must not be expected to sacrifice herself after the death of her husband. So this was something that he strongly advocated for. Now with this he also advocated for widow remarriage, because in those days we see that if a woman did not sort of throw herself into the burning fire, did not perform sati, her life would be very miserable. She would be treated badly, she would be like shunned away from the family, etc. So therefore he brings in this custom of widow remarriage, giving another life or giving value to the life of the woman. So it is said that in many parts widows were marginalized and ostracized, which means that they were completely shunned away either from the family and also from the society. Okay, kind of given the status of untouchables. Okay, nobody would want to interact with them. So it was a very humiliating situation that they had to undergo, and in a way they were forced to live in isolation. So we all know how difficult or how frustrating it is to be isolated from everything, right? We have, some at least would have had the experience of quarantine. Okay, so first 2 days, okay, you may feel quite good, but then as 3-4 days pass on, you can't move, you cannot talk to anybody, okay, in person, you are stuck in one place, and therefore, so you can feel the frustration. Imagine, they had to live for this throughout their life till they died. So it was a very humiliating, very deplorable situation for the women. Now we see that they also were denied the opportunity to remarry. So Guru Ramdas promoted the ideas that women should be allowed to live fulfilling lives. including the possibility to marry once again. And once again we see that this was a challenge to the social norms at that time. Okay, so we have already seen that this religion is quite forward and challenging very strongly not only the religious practices but now also the social norms within the country. And this, it is said, helped to uplift the social status of women. So now we also see that Guru Ramdas also introduced a hymn, or he composed several hymns for the Sikh marriage ceremony. Okay, and we see that these hymns hold a very important place for their weddings. And this hymn was known as Lavan, which was basically a 4-stanza composition and this was recited during the marriage ceremony, which was also called as Anand Karaj. So this hymn, okay, or the Lavan, it symbolized the spiritual journey of the couple. And therefore each of these stanzas represented different stage of their union. So it is said that this hymn not only sanctifies the marriage, but it also gives the importance of mutual love, that is love for both husband, love by the husband for the wife and wife for the husband, respect and commitment. And we see that also during his time, the Sikh community continues to grow, continues to flourish significantly. And now the role of the Guru becomes more central, becomes more important. And in this way, we see that Guru Ramdas worked to strengthen the Sikh community both by focusing on spiritual as well as social development. And therefore his teachings emphasized what the other gurus had also taught. Okay, service, humility, equality and righteous life. So we see that his contribution was quite profound. And as we have seen that whether it comes to widow remarriage or even prevention of sati, this was a very bold move which gave status and dignity for women. Okay, so this is about the contributions of Guru Ramdas, who was the 4th Sikh Guru. Next time onwards, we will see the other 6 Gurus. Okay, so thank you.